page 292, you have some space. Want to get the door. I had the screen frozen, so it's all good. No, the last stuff that we did, the highlighting and things like that, that wasn't recorded. No. So just this is the first thing I'm recording today. Okay. Now, before we get to our steps and our example, it's important to understand what our goal is. And our goal is to change y equals ax squared plus bx plus c, which doesn't help us whatsoever. Well, it tells us if it's going up or down, because the a value tells us that, tells if it's narrower or wider. But we want to change it to y equals ax minus p squared plus q. It's important to keep that goal in mind, because sometimes if you forget steps, if you think about what do I want to do, it can help you remember the steps. Okay? Step number 1, and the example that we're going to do alongside of it is y equals 2x squared plus 8x plus 1. That's the example we're going to do. I'll put the steps over here. Step 1 is factor the a value out of the first two terms. This is slightly different than when we completed the square last time. Last time, we divided the a value to make it go away. So this is the first little bit that's a little bit different. The reason we want to factor it out is if you look at our goal has the a value factored out in front. So for our example, what that would look like is if I take the a value out of the first two, this is what I would get. 2 out of the 2x squared would leave me with just an x squared. If I factor a 2 out of the 8x, that'll leave me with just a 4. When we completed the square last time, we left spaces in order. So we're going to leave spaces to complete the square again. Last time it made sense to leave spaces on both sides of the equation, one on one side of the equal sign and one on the other side of the equal sign. In this case, since our goal is to write it as y equals ax minus p squared plus q, we're going to write our spaces on the same side. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to complete the square. And I have a little note in here not to forget to multiply by a. And I'll show you what that means. Because right now, if I just add something to one of the spaces, so I'm going to rewrite this. with these spaces, if I just add something to one of the spaces, I no longer have an equation that's equal, because we know that what we do to one side of the equation, we have to do to the other side of the equation. Okay? Another way of doing something but doing nothing is on the same side of the equation. Can you see if I added 5 and then subtracted 5 on that equation, that would be like doing nothing. If I added 10 and then subtracted 10, that would be like doing nothing. So since I have the spaces on the same side, as long as I do the opposite in the other space, it'll be like I do nothing. Now we remember from completing the square that this number, you got this number by taking this number here, you divided by 2, and then squared it. Remember that? The pattern that we noticed, that number gets divided by 2, half of 4 is 2, and when you square 4, you get 4. So there would be a 4 plus 4 going into that space. I've now created imbalance in my equation because I've added something to that side. How much have I added to the right-hand side when I put a 4 in there? No, I've added 8. Take a look. Can you see why putting a 4 there makes me add 8 to that side? Because the 2 in front multiplies by that 4, and we've actually added 8. So we need to write negative 8 on the other side. And that's why I have, don't forget to multiply by a, because that 4 actually gets multiplied by that 2. So you've actually added 8 by putting a 4 inside the brackets. Because if I want to do nothing on that side, the opposite of adding 8 would be to subtract 8.
Yeah, but wouldn't you have to put plus 8 to cancel it out, though?
Well, if I put plus 8 here, then I've added 8 and added 8 again. What we did last time was we put plus 8, and if you really want to, you could have put the space on the other side. You could have put plus 8 on this side to make it equal. But then what happens when I move that plus 8 to the other side anyways? It's a minus 8. So in this form, we generally just make the spaces on the one side to begin with because it saves us an extra step. Finally, step 4, we can now write it in y equals a x minus p squared plus q form. Because by completing the square, x plus 4 is the same as x plus 2 squared. And then we go plus 1 minus 8 leaves us with minus 7. And now we know the vertex, minus 2, minus 7. Now we could graph it. We could easily find everything in the axis of symmetry, the domain, the range. Everything can be found because we've changed it into the standard form. Okay, now we can do our examples. We're going to use these steps to do it.